spot, bringing stats like a kingpin. MMA knowledge meets his nephews all leaning, breaking down fights, codes that daddy supreme on. Just a tip show, he's cooking up a dream. Uncle Weezy, he the man, dropping fight facts, got it all on hand. He the stat attack grand, MMA guru, more than just a fan. Wanna know the numbers? Weezy got them cataloged, from the fighters reach down to how many times they dog. Just a tip living, breaking it down slick, hit you with the knowledge, won't miss a single trick. Uncle Weezy, he the man, dropping fight facts, got it all on hand. He the stat attack grand, MMA guru, more than just a fan. Deep predictions, he be
UFC 326. What?
Details, opponents feeling small. From jabs to takedowns, got the whole fight ID. Uncle Weezy spitting truth, no lie, keep it G. Blow the horn, blow the horn. Stat Daddy Weezy not showing no scorn. Fight night kingdom, he wearing the crown. Break it down for the peeps, never looking like a clown.
Oh, yes. What's going on, everybody? I'm fired up. It's UFC 326 coming up this weekend, and it's headlined by Max Blessed Holloway and Charles Dubronx Oliveira. What a main event. Two absolute legends of the sport. Two guys that have got a ton of miles on the engine and have fought nothing but the best opponents for the last 10 years of their lives. And they're still both fighting at a very high level. And I can't imagine a more exciting fight between two of the most loved fighters that this great organization has ever seen. So that's where we start this week. You know, that's the best fight that we're going to have in this organization here over the next month or two, probably till the White House card. And I'm looking forward to breaking that down with you guys. But what we're doing here today is usually a show that is just for my paid Odds Shopper subscribers. I do a full card breakdown show every week called Balls Deep Breakdowns with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. And it's a lot more in depth than what I do every week for free on Thursday night or Friday afternoon on my YouTube channel for free. And I've been building some new tools here behind the scenes, some new analytics to track, some new metrics to track. I've built some new databases in a way that has allowed me to use Microsoft Excel macros in order to build rankings for strength of schedule, rankings in the division for pace, power, things like that. And I'm getting them slowly integrated into my stats package that goes out to my customers, usually 2 weeks in advance of a card. This next one is going to be a little bit late because of all these improvements that I've been making, but I'm so fired up about these improvements that I've made that I wanted to just, because it's such a good card, because it's Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira, I wanted to give you guys everything that I do every week, which is normally only for my paid subscribers on Odds Shopper, and just give it away for free. And that means my fight write-ups. That means my stats package. That means all my tracked bets. And that means this show, Balls Deep Breakdowns with Uncle Weezy, and that means the show I'm going to do tomorrow afternoon, which is called Probability, where we use all the betting models that I've created in these stats packages that I send out every night. And we go through those models to determine where the models say that there is some statistical value, some plus EV bets. And then we use the reads that we come up with tonight on Balls Deep Breakdowns to kind of try to pick out the best bets every week, whether they be money lines, whether they be props, whether they be over-unders or fight goes or fight doesn't go. And then we usually put together a 3-leg probability parlay and then a 3-leg take this job and shove it parlay, which would be similar to like a Lambo parlay that Narco Cop gives out every Friday with Tim Troiano on one of my favorite shows, the Lambo Plays podcast. But yeah, you guys, it's such a great card that I wanted to just give out everything this week for free. So I appreciate you guys coming by tonight and hanging out. We're going to go through all 13 fights on this card. And if you click on the link in the description of the video, you're going to get the fight write-up link, and you're going to get the link to the stats package for this week. And I'll be sharing my screen with you guys I'll be making all the picks on these fights. We'll be looking at the betting lines, and we'll be looking at all the factors that I break down every week on this show so that we can kind of have a real comprehensive look at all the facts of the fight, so that once we have all the facts, we can wind up making the right decisions based on the available information that we have, the trends, the statistics, the in-cage stylistics of the fight. And that way, you know, we can talk ourselves out of bad bets. We can kind of come to a consensus about what's overpriced and underpriced, and find the spots that stick out as being undervalued or underpriced, so that we can be discount shoppers and hopefully cash big on Saturday night. So I appreciate everybody that's hanging out live tonight. I was an idiot, because what I wanted to do this week was put this out for free, and I did that. And then I forgot to make the link public. I had it as unlisted. So I just made it public before we started the show here tonight. So I'm sure that some of you guys will be joining a little bit later on. But we got a couple of my locals here, my paid subscribers, my guy Olajuwon in the room saying, let's go. We got Sam in the room saying, what's good, Unc? Looking forward to whenever we do parlays or favorite bets. So yeah, this week on Probability, I'm going to have some of my Odd Shopper subscribers kind of share what their bets are after I go through the show and identify where the models are saying that there's value. And we're going to come up with some probability parlays tomorrow. And my guy Sam is one of the people that's going to join me on camera for that, giving out some of his best picks. So I'm looking forward to meeting Sam on camera for the first time tomorrow afternoon. We got Tehran is in the room saying, what up, Uncle? Oi! And he is watching from Richton Park, Illinois. Richton Park? Yes. Good to see you in here, Tehran. Always good to have some of the people that I normally see for free on YouTube every week in here. We got Justin Cash is in the room saying salute. We got No Limit Mike saying Stack Daddy Weezy. What's going on, my man? We got Daz in the room saying, oi. And we got R3 Predictions saying, oi, just finished my breakdown. Saturday is going to be awesome. I am looking forward to it. And ring a ding ding, you guys. Guile Crease in the room giving me a $1 super sticker. Much appreciated, my man. That is a slick tux. That is a slick suit, slick shades there, man. Looking good, Gail. And thank you. Thank you for the donation to the show. We got AJ's MMA saying, great to be here, Weezy. Unbelievable performance by Bobby last week. And Moreno busted most of my parlays, but we go again. I was surprised that Lonnie Kavanaugh had enough in the tank to win that 5th round at elevation when we've never seen him go 5 rounds before. That was a crazy performance by Lonnie, and big up Lonnie Kavanaugh. That was a way to go for him. That's a hell of a performance, man. That kid just really kind of like put his name into the hat now as the top 5 flyweight in the division at a very young age with a really elite striking skill set. We got Jace Luna in the room saying, let's go. What up, Weezy? What is up, Jace? Caveman Yogi in the room saying, gather around, you little shits, and pipe down while your uncle is speaking. Appreciate you, my man. We got Sam in here saying, let's stack some cash, fellas. Let's get it. My guy Rob is in the room saying, watching from your hometown, Park Ridge, Illinois. Park Ridge, yes. Great little suburb there right next to O'Hare Airport. I grew up there. Rob grew up just over the city line there in Chicago, and we went to college together and burned a lot of brain cells at Northern Illinois University, the Harvard of the Midwest. Go Huskies. B-Negs in the room saying, nice pick week last week for you. Yeah, I got some right. And, when I even picked Zellhuber to win, but I bet on Bobby Green, so that was one that came through. But, man, I had a lot of props that were pretty solid reads, but I just didn't get any bounces to go my way. So hoping that they'll go my way this week. We got AJ saying Lonnie exceeded my expectations, especially with the elevation at short notice. Mine too. Happy Winslow Wednesday, says my guy, the Cuban assassin. And AJ saying, what'd you think of Bobby last week? You took the spread, right? Yeah, plus 225 in the spread. I was pretty shocked that he performed that well. I mean, I expected him to keep that fight close and make it very competitive. But like, that was a one-sided ass kicking. I really didn't see it going that way. But we cashed off it and we move on. Let's see. We got losing to Charles Johnson speed blinds you to a title. It's so true, dude. And the High Owl saying, "Oh, what is up, High Owl?" And saying Southern Illinois seems so different from Northern Illinois. Southern Illinois isn't far from Tennessee either yet. That's no doubt, man. I've always been a Northern Illinois guy. And to get from Northern Illinois to Southern Illinois is like a 5.5-hour drive. Illinois is a big-ass state. But you guys, let's get right into it here. We've got 13 fights to break down. And like I said, if you want to follow along with what we're doing here, we've got the link to the fight write-ups in the description of this video. And we've also got the link to the stats package in the description of this video. And I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see the stats. And we're going to start with the first fight of the night, which is going to be Rafael Tobias, the newcomer. He's around a -200 favorite right now, going up against Diyar Nurgozhay, who is a +170 underdog. And on this sheet, you have different tabs for every fight. Like, for instance, this is Rafael Tobias's advanced stats page. This has all of his career stats. Now, he has no UFC stats, but you can see everything that's available for all of his fights pre-UFC down here. And then we have what I like to call, and we have those advanced stats sheets, obviously, for every fighter that's on the card. This one is called the stats package here. And resize these rows to 25. There we go. And this one, the stats package page is going to have significant striking stats overall are going to be right here. Your head strike, your significant head strike stats, offense and defense, are going to be here. Your distance striking stats, offense and defense, are going to be here. Your clinch and ground striking stats are going to be here. Target distribution, what percentage of the strikes that you land are to the head, body, and to the legs. That's right up there in the top right corner. Offensive and defensive grappling stats right here. Control time stats. And all these stats not only show each fighter's statistics up to this point at the UFC level, but it also compares them to the divisional benchmarks so that you know what you're comparing it to. You know if somebody's above average or below average for the division in any particular stat, because I track those benchmarks in all my databases. Like, here is where all these metrics are, and they get fed into the spreadsheet from over here. So, you know, this has got all of the actual stats that have been accrued at the UFC level. And then over here on the player profile tab, you're going to get information that's not necessarily in-cage information here. And that is going to be tail of the tape information, pro and UFC experience information, how many fights they finish by submission or knockout, their overall records to the submission, knockout, or the decision. I'm doing a strength of schedule ranking. So I rank everybody's strength of schedule. So, for instance, Diyar Nurgozhay, who's 0-2 in the UFC and has faced guys with combined UFC records of 3 wins and 5 losses. He's ranked 39 out of 41 out of the 41 fighters that I have in my database in terms of the strength of schedule that he's faced. So we rank everybody in terms of the strength of schedule that they've seen. We also do the return on investment stats. So you can see, you know, what somebody's ROI is at the UFC level in their overall of their fights, as well as what their ROI is when they're priced as a favorite and what their ROI is, return on investment, when they're priced as a pick'em or underdog. And then right here, you can kind of take a look at their last 5 fights just to determine, you know, what kind of momentum do they have here. You can see that Tobias is on a 5-fight win streak and that he's finished 4 of those 5 wins. And you can see how active he's been because you see the dates that the fights took place on, and you can look at the betting lines from those fights as well. Now, a lot of these he didn't have betting lines because he was in a regional scene organization, but this is all the information that is not necessarily you're going to find anywhere. But I track all of this stuff, so I display it in this sheet. And then obviously we have the fight write-ups too. And over here on the left, we have the links to every write-up. And then right here, this is the Tobias Nurgozhay write-up. And we talk about, the money lines and the implied probabilities. We talk about tail of the tape stuff and determine, if there's any advantages in the measurables. We look here at the profiles and recent trends of each fighter to determine how they win and lose fights, to determine whether they're hot, whether they're cold, whether their career trajectory is positive or negative or kind of holding steady. And we do that for both fighters. We look at how these fighters have performed in comparison to market expectations. That's the return on investment. We look at the strength of schedule rankings for each fighter. And then we kind of look at the in-cage stuff, distance striking, clinch game, grappling. And then we kind of look at the style matchup. We identify strengths and weaknesses of both fighters. And then I take you through a final paragraph that I write here. That's my kind of impression of how all the stats kind of work out here. But I'll read you the summary that I have for this fight that's opening up the card, the debutant Rafael Tobias going up against Diyar Nurgozhay. Now, this particular fight is a tale of two fighters with different momentum and career trajectory right now. Rafael Tobias is only 22 years old. He's on a 6-fight win streak, and he's coming off an impressive win on Dana White's Contender Series to earn his UFC contract, while Diyar Nurgozhay has been submitted in each of his 2 UFC fights. It's always hard to back a UFC debutant who's priced at a 65% implied favorite against somebody with UFC experience and strength of schedule advantages. But the recency bias could not even be any worse on Diyar Nurgozhay right now. He came in 4.5 pounds heavy in his UFC debut, and he was submitted in the second round of that fight via Kimura as a -400 favorite. And then he went on to get Ezekiel choked by Urin Salty Baldiev as a pick'em in his second UFC fight. So he brings a 2-fight losing streak into this fight. Both of them finishes, and bettors aren't going to forgive him for those terrible performances that he put on. Now, Rafael Tobias, he's a 22-year-old prospect out of shoot-to-box with a 14-1 pro record. He hits hard, he can mix in the wrestling, and he's shown the ability to finish fights with ground and pound or submissions on the mat. His only pro loss came by knockout in LFA against Miguel Porto, and that was back in 2023. And even though he has a very impressive 14-win and 1-loss pro record, he's only been fighting professionally for 4 years, and his wins are over some low-level competition. If you have big balls, you can try to buy low on Nurgozhay and hope that he's made improvements and can get back to his winning ways against the 22-year-old debutant. But I don't have the guts to pull that trigger because Nurgozhay has looked awful thus far in the octagon. These guys should be fairly well matched at distance striking range. It's a southpaw versus orthodox matchup, and that favors Diyar Nurgozhay. But I see Tobias throwing a little more volume. I see him having a little more offensive wrestling and grappling upside. So I think he's going to win this fight, especially considering that Nurgozhay has shown such a massive hole in his submission defense in the last 2 fights that I think if Tobias kind of wants to take the path of least resistance here, he's probably just going to wrestle. Let's see. So I do see Tobias throwing more volume, having more of that grappling upside. So I think he is going to win this fight. Nurgozhay is too low volume, and his ground game isn't good enough to want to back him here. But laying juice on a 22-year-old debutant isn't something that I'm interested in doing either. So I'm picking Rafael Tobias. I think he's going to win this fight by a second-round ground and pound knockout. I don't think he's going to find the submission, but I do think he can get to a dominant position here and finish this fight. So I'm going to make picks. And for the first fight of the night, I'm going to pick Rafael Tobias bipolar to win this fight by second-round knockout. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We got Jet Life is in the room saying, what's up, OG? It's good to see you hanging out in here, Jet Life. R3 Prediction saying, love the way you break down fights. I appreciate you, man. Yeah, this is the way I do it for my paid subscribers every week. hopefully you guys will find some value in these breakdowns and consider joining the Odds Shopper. If you click on the link in the description of the video, you'll get 50% off your first month's membership here. And it's going to include that stats package, this show every week, probability every week. So I'm giving it all away this week for free in hopes that some of you will say that you can't pass this up going forward to try to sign up and be a part of this community and get access to these stats and these breakdowns every week. The High Owl saying, Unc, I'm thinking of put together an artificial intelligence dash for betting, organized picks, alerts at sharp movement, and auto-compile 2- and 3-leg parlays so the risk is distributed. What do you think? Yeah, I think people that aren't using artificial intelligence right now to gain an edge are probably missing out a little bit, because while it makes a ton of mistakes and you have to constantly check the work, there are things that it's extremely good at, and it's really helped me out with coding. And once you get your coding right, you can build just about anything. And the things that I've been able to build over these last few months would have been things that I would have never been able to do on my own, because I would have never been able to figure out how to write an entire paragraph of code to get the macro to work correctly to update these tables and stuff. So I think it's a great idea. Wild Barry saying Nurgozhay would be better if he was Nurgozhay. Yeah, that's for sure. But he's not Nurgozhay. He's Nurgozhay, and he's stunk so far in the UFC. Hey, I'm not working today, so we tune into Uncle Weezy, says AJ's. I'm glad, man. And ring a ding ding, you guys. Omni King 13 with the $5 super sticker. Truly appreciate you, man, for the donation. And anybody, like I say, if you like these breakdowns and you want to get access to this every week, please consider joining in by the link in the description of this video. Still 5 spots left there for you to get 50% off your first month's membership. The next fight that we are going to talk about here is going to be Ricky Turcios. He is a plus 160 underdog, and he is going up against Alberto Montes, who's a minus 185 favorite for this fight. And the first thing that I want to look at here is we kind of just go through the measurables and see if there is anything there where we have advantages or disadvantages for either fighter. Let me get this a little bit bigger so that you guys can see it. There we go. So you can see here that Montes is just a little bit younger, but it's going to be Turcios who's going to be 2 inches taller and have a 2-inch reach advantage here. Turcios, the more experienced fighter overall, and 5 more fights at the UFC level, because Montes is somebody that is going to be making his UFC debut here. Turcios is a guy who's only finished 4 of his 12 pro wins, so he is a guy who does his best work winning minutes and not moments, while we've seen Alberto Montes over his last 4 fights that he's win them all by some kind of a front choke series, whether it be a Darce or an Anaconda choke. This guy's a front choke merchant, and he just goes for that technique over and over and over again. And even though people know it's coming, they seem to be unable to stop it, because usually he doesn't get the first one and he doesn't even get the second one. But the third front choke that he locks in, he finishes that one. And so he's just a specialist in terms of finishing that technique at this level. So we're going to see if he can do it, at the next step up now, which is going to be the UFC. But this guy's been fighting a decent level of competition on the regional scene, fighting in organizations like Combate, I think Titan FC as well. So he's had some pretty good names on his roster here. And when we look at and you can also see Turcios on a 2-fight losing streak coming into this fight, and he's lost 3 of his last 4 fights. This is a guy who has a negative 35% ROI at the UFC level. But he does pretty well when he's priced as a favorite, but both times he's been priced as an underdog, he's lost. So Turcios is going to be, the older fighter. He's coming in here with less momentum, and both of these guys are on a 1+ year layoff coming into this fight. So we like Montez's submission upside. We like the fact that he's coming in with a lot more momentum. We like the fact that he's younger. And his striking's good, you guys. He's got a traditional martial arts style, taekwondo background. He kind of hops up and down on his toes. He's explosive. He can catch you coming in, and he can manage range at distance striking. He can manage distance striking range very well. Turcios, a minute winner who fights with a lot of pace. He's not particularly defensively sound. You could see here. Resize these rows to 27. You can see that Ricky lands more significant strikes than he absorbs. And at distance striking range, that's a pretty good thing to have. But he's 33% accurate and only 53% defense, but he throws a lot of volume. He's attempting over 16 significant strike attempts per minute. He attempts 4.45 takedowns per 15 minutes and gets 1.11 of them. He will go for submissions. He will basically try to put you into a fight that's super high paced and hope that his conditioning and output can help him win the minutes and bank the rounds on his way to a decision. So here's what I've got for my summary of this fight. Both Turcios and Montes are on 1+ year layoffs coming into this fight, and usually that would be a concern. But neither one of these guys fights very often, so this is kind of the norm for both guys. Montes only has 12 pro fights over a 13+ year career, and Turcios isn't much more active, fighting only 17 times over 12+ years of his career. Montes is 1 year younger. He has more momentum coming into this fight on a 3-fight win streak, and he has a tricky blend of Taekwondo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that gives him the ability to win minutes on the feet and moments with his elite front choke attack. Ricky Turcios is more experienced and tested fighter of these two guys. He has a 2-inch height and reach advantage, and he has excellent cardio that he likes to weaponize by fighting at a high pace in all aspects of the fight. Ricky has been underwhelming in the UFC. He's 2 wins and 3 losses over 5 fights, but both of his wins kind of came by like a really close split decision, and his losses were fairly clean cut. So Ricky doesn't have a ton of power or finishing upside anywhere the fight goes, so he kind of relies on outworking his opponents over 15 minutes while trying to minimize his opponent's ability to accrue damage and control against him. In other words, Ricky fights on thin margins, so it's really kind of difficult to back him against fighters that aren't going to slow down or aren't going to get tired trying to take him down over and over again unsuccessfully. So even though Montes is on a 17-month layoff due to having to pull out of his scheduled bout against Roberto Romero, and that was in April of 2025, he still brings a lot more momentum and positive career trajectory coming into this fight. He's 1 year younger than Ricky. He's on a 3-fight win streak, and he's finished his last 4 wins. Montes has a solid striking, Montes has solid striking and a little more pop in his punches at distance, and he has a lot more moment-winning upside when the fight is in the clinch and on the mat due to how dangerous Montes's front choke series is. So if Montes doesn't find the choke, I think this fight's going to play out very close. Ricky Turcios' decision-only prop is interesting at +130, as is Montes by submission at +285 on BetRivers Sportsbook. Turcios by split decision could also be worth a look here. Right now, let me see where that one is on this model. There it is. Turcios by split decision opened up at +1050. My model really likes that bet. And, you know, since his only 2 UFC wins do come by split decision, getting a big discount taking him by split in what I think is going to be a close fight when his money line is +160. You're getting the split at +1050. So I think that's a pretty good look this week. So I'm going to pick Alberto Montes to win this fight by 2nd round submission. I mean, he's just so relentless going for this. And I think that maybe even if he doesn't get it, he might be able to get to top position where he can accrue enough top time and land enough ground and pound that he can win close rounds by trying to get some of these submissions and getting close and maybe not finishing them might still be enough to win him a round. He's relentless at going for that choke, and he always looks for it in the clinch and in scrambles. And Turcios fights in a way that is going to present plenty of opportunities for Montes to clinch up, to start looking for that choke. And like I said, of course, Turcios knows that this guy's a front choke merchant. Of course, he's training to stop it. But there are some guys that are just so good with certain submissions that even if you practice to stop it, you might not be able to. And Montes is one of those guys with those front chokes. So the pick for this fight is going to be Alberto Montes to win this one by second round submission. And Montes by sub at plus 285. I think a good play this week could be a Turcios decision only. Because if Montes doesn't find that front choke, he's not like a massive hitter on the feet, and he's not like some Colby Covington type wrestler that's going to win a ton of minutes with top time and ground and pound. So if Montes doesn't find the choke, I just see this fight playing out very close if it goes the full 15 minutes. And if that's the case, I think Turcios decision only plus 130 is a good look. And since Turcios not really a big finisher, the Turcios decision prop at plus 325 might be a little bit better way to play him rather than his money line at plus 160. All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Yeah, it's always tricky when you do that, and that's something that we have to think about doing in 3 different fights this week, you guys. If you want to bet Montes, you're laying chalk on a debutante. If you want to bet Tobias, you're laying chalk on a debutante. If you want to bet Luke Fernandez, you're laying chalk on a debutante. So we got to be, you got to be conscious that you're doing those kind of things and not put yourself into too many of those situations. Hi, Owl saying, not to rely on the UI that DK or FD gives you solely. I feel like the whole experience is built to work against you and confuse you as the gambler. Hell yeah. Elijah Dream saying, give Weezy money now. Yeah, and you can do that by clicking the link in the description of this video, because if you do that, you're going to get your first month's membership for only $12.50, and you're going to get access to great shows like Balls Deep Breakdowns with Uncle Weezy, Probability also with Uncle Weezy. You're going to get Uncle Weezy's stats package. You're going to get Uncle Weezy's Discord. You're going to get Uncle Weezy's tracked bets. You're going to get Uncle Weezy's fight write-ups. You're going to get access to me, Uncle Weezy. And I'm just that dude that you can cheat off of. You could take all the stat sheets, rattle off those stats to your friends to make yourself look cool. You don't have to give me credit. The credit that you're giving me is paying me for the stats. And then you can lie and say you made them up all yourself. I don't really care, As long as you pay me, as long as you give your Uncle Weezy money now, you're going to get access to all of this that I do every week for my subscribers. I work way harder for them than I do for the people on YouTube for free. Trust me. We got Turcios seems like a decent dog. Yeah, if he can stay out of those front chokes, if he can avoid extended stretches where he's losing minutes to Montes, I think he could keep this fight very, very close. But I think the best way to play him is decision only, because Montes has got a nasty front choke. Nothing's free in this game, my man, but Montes can get the submission sometimes on the second, third, or even fourth attempt. So I would just play Tobias round 1 sub. Well, I think Nurgozhay got subbed in the second round by Brenson Ribeiro. So, maybe if Tobias makes Nurgozhay grapple early, then maybe he could tire him out and get a second or a third round sub too. I like Alberto Montes. He's good. Yeah, he's got a pretty decent, unique skill set of being like a traditional martial arts striker at range that manages range well and throws a lot of kicks. And also, somebody that can finish any fight in a scramble due to how good his front chokes are. But let's keep moving, you guys. We got a lot of work to do. And the next fight that we're going to look at is another debutante here in Luke Fernandez. Luke Fernandez is a minus 225 favorite. Rodolfo Bellato plus 190 is the underdog here. And to take you through some of these stats, where is this package at? There it is. So Let's get this nice and fat so that you guys can see it. All right. So these guys are about the same age. It's actually Bellato, who's about 8 months younger, and he's 2 inches taller. And it's going to be Luke Fernandez with a 1-inch reach advantage. So the height is very similar. You know, the size, I should say, very similar for both guys. But there's a big experience difference here for Bellato. 11 more fights, about 80 more minutes of professional cage time. He's got 4 more fights at the UFC level. Bellato's got about 45 minutes of UFC octagon time, while Fernandez is making his debut. And he's making his UFC debut after his pro career has lasted just under 3 years. And he's only got 6 fights and less than 40 minutes of professional cage time. So Luke Fernandez, I mean, he got off to an amazing start. I mean, this guy absolutely shaved the ass of poor Jesse Romans. And he shaved Jesse Romans' ass so bad that they literally gave him a title shot in his next fight. It was only his 3rd professional fight. He gets a light heavyweight title shot against Peter New, finishes him in the 2nd round via ground and pound. He's a minus 1,000 favorite in that fight. He was a minus 670 favorite against Romans, and he looked minus 10,000 there. Then he goes on to be minus 3,000 against Greg Ellis. He shaves that dude, knocks him out violently at the end of the 1st round, I think it was. But that Greg Ellis knockout, man, I mean, if you guys haven't watched the tape on Fernandez, go watch that Greg Ellis knockout. He knocks out this absolute bum, Rafael Pergentino, in like 10 seconds. The ass whooping he puts on Jesse Romans is absolutely brutal. Luke Fernandez is fun to watch, man. And he's had one fight that lasted 20 minutes. It was against Christian Edwards. It was a clinch fest. But he showed that he can slow things down and win some minutes in the clinch, and also, you know, mix in some takedowns and get a little bit of top time. You know, this guy, Luke Fernandez, looks like a pretty good prospect, but he's giving up a lot of experience. He's given up a big strength of schedule advantage here. But Bellato just hasn't been that reliable in the UFC. Only 1 win in 4 fights, a negative 38% ROI. He just comes in with a lot less momentum, a lot less positive career trajectory than Fernandez. But the question is are we going to be able to see if the experience and strength of schedule on the Bellato side matters? He's a very durable fighter. He's got solid Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he can win some minutes and moments on the feet with his striking, but he's pretty hittable while there, and he takes a lot of damage. So Bellato's got, there are reasons to back him here. It's always tough to back debutantes, like AJ's just said in the chat. And then also, you know, a guy like Bellato's, you know, for Fernandez, who's only been to a decision once as a professional, and Bellato, who's such a durable fighter, you know, I could see this potentially maybe going to the later rounds here. And if Fernandez has any kind of nerves, any kind of an adrenaline dump due to this being his first, you know, this is a UFC debut, and it's a pay-per-view UFC 325 card. So this is a big deal. It's hard to make your debut under the bright lights against more experienced opponents. But my analysis for this fight is as follows. This is an interesting prospect versus veteran matchup in the UFC's light heavyweight division. Luke Fernandez is a very impressive prospect, but he's a late starter to MMA. He's only been fighting professionally for 3 years, and he's 30 years old, so he made his debut at the age of 27. But he won the CFFC light heavyweight championship in his 3rd professional fight, and he already has 3 title fights that were scheduled for 4 rounds, and there could be a 5th if it was tied after 4 rounds. And he won all of those fights already. Rodolfo Bellato has been underwhelming thus far in the UFC. 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw, 1 no contest over 4 fights. And his only win came against the 2 win and 6 loss at the UFC level, Ihor Pereira. And in that fight, Bellato was almost stopped in the 2nd round. And luckily, the ref didn't stop it because Pereira wound up gassing himself out, trying to finish him. And then he wound up getting finished shortly after that. So Bellato is going to have clear UFC experience, strength of schedule, and submission grappling advantages over Fernandez, and his durability keeps him in fights long enough to turn the tide if his opponent slows down, like we saw in the Pereira and Krupp fights. Now, Luke Fernandez looks like a promising prospect, but Rodolfo Bellato is by far the toughest test in his career, and it comes in Luke's UFC debut, where he's being priced as a 69% implied favorite. I do think Luke has more moment and minute winning upside wherever this fight goes. However, it's hard to be sure of that due to the UFC experience and strength of schedule differences between these two fighters. I think this fight goes over 1.5 rounds, as well as to a decision at a higher rate than where the market is pricing it. And the reason I think that is because Rodolfo Bellato is a really durable guy, and he's got a lot of heart too. Now, he's pretty easy to hit, so he does get kind of like knocked down, and he gets put in bad spots a lot, but this guy's got no quit in him, and he will keep fighting even when he's put into bad spots. So I kind of like the overs here. I like backing durable fighters that could potentially go the full 15 minutes. So that's due to not only Bellato's durability, but also that both fighters, Bellato and Luke Fernandez, are very comfortable in the clinch. So I could see this fight kind of having extended stretches where it slows down because Fernandez or Bellato is clinching up. And because both these guys usually kind of prefer to move forward, I do think we're going to see a lot of clinching. My pick is going to be Luke Fernandez, and I'm going to pick him to win this fight by decision. And I think the over 1.5 rounds at -120, the fight goes to decision at +300, and Fernandez by decision at anything better than +500 are going to be solid plays this week. But I'm kind of going against the grain with my pick here, and I'm picking Luke Fernandez to win this one, but to win it by decision. Bellato is just somebody I'm very impressed with his durability. And I think that Fernandez is being so comfortable in the clinch, he might like look to try to win some minutes there, and that could slow this fight down and cause it to go the distance. But yeah, Fernandez by decision, like it might be a better price than like the +450 I saw in Bet Online on Bet Rivers right now. But if it isn't, it's still, I think, a pretty good look there. And I might play a little bit of Fight Goes here this week. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Ajay's likes Bellato. We got Wildberry saying, I kind of like Fernandez, decision or Fight Goes. Bellato gives everyone a tough fight. Well, you and I are on the same page there, Wildberry. Like one of the things that I was definitely looking to do this week was maybe like a half unit on the Fight Goes at +300. Bellato should not even be in the UFC after that acting job. Yeah, but you know, like the people love celebrities. They love actors. They love them. Think about it, right? So maybe he's more popular now. You know, like this guy could be on like a Brazilian soap opera. He's handsome. He's big and strong. He's got good tattoos, you know, and like he could play like the tough guy on the soap opera. So, you know, acting can help your career too, UFC Picks and Balances. Sometimes it does. We got Xiao Pedro Ferreira saying Bellato has no quit. Are we forgetting the Paul Craig quit job? So the alleged Paul Craig quit job, because if you look at the Krupp fight, he was put in a super bad spot there in the first round. He was able to survive that through that being mounted. He gets back up and then he gets knocked down and he fights through that. He fought through and survived the Ihor Pereira beating. He's been put in some bad spots and was able to kind of persevere through it. But the only fight that's finished inside the distance of his was the Paul Craig one, and that wound up being a no contest. We got Chama in the room saying, glad to catch you live, Uncle Weezy. Charlie Olives for the +190. We're going to talk about that one in a little bit. We got J-Mo saying, got that Olives by sub. Let's go. Love Max, but if Charlie goes in smart with a game plan, he should have this. Well, he's going to pressure the shit out of him. But Max Holloway is just an elite striker. It's such a great fight. What fighters do you disagree with Brady on? I'll bet the fights where you line up with Brady. I would have to check and see where he's at on all of his fights, because I literally haven't left my office for like the last 3 days. I've been grinding out these templates. I barely finished them in time for the show today, and I normally do this show on Tuesday nights. You should have just broke down the main card, because who really cares about the prelim fights? No offense, but this is the show I do for my people every week, Tehran, so I want people to see what the paid content is like. Real fans, not casual, says my guy J-Mo. I care about every fight because I get on all fights. That's my guy, Ben. This card as a whole is pure garbage. Like, the bottom half of it is not good, Tehran. You're right. Bellato going to sleep early is my read. Yeah, it could happen. I mean, like, Fernandez is a powerful guy. My model hates Baralho by any finish at plus 300, but man, I like that a bit. The model loves him by decision. Yeah, I'm picking Fernandez by decision just because I think he does more at distance striking range. He pressures more. I think he hits a little bit harder. And Bellato, he gets rocked a lot. And I think Fernandez might be the better offensive wrestler, better defensive wrestler as well, but we're going to find out. 3 most confident fighters, I'll parlay that. I'm going to have to give you that after because I'm not done breaking these fights down. All right, you guys, let's move on to the next one. Jeong-Yeong Lee going up against Gaston Bolanos. Jeong-Yeong Lee minus 265. Bolanos plus 225. So let me get this one up. So let me fatten up the rows. And for those of you guys who just joined us here, you can click on the link in the description of this video and download this stats package for free. You can download my fight write-ups for free. And I'm putting out all my content that I normally only do for my paid subscribers on OddsShopper for free this week. So take advantage of it. Check it all out. And hopefully some of you guys will decide to sign up when you see the massive amount of analytics, statistics, and capping that I do every week for my paid subscribers. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting matchup. We got Gaston Bolanos moving up to 145 pounds for the first time in the UFC, and he's going to be fighting Jeong-Yeong Lee. Neither one of these guys has much momentum. Bolanos has lost 2 out of his last 3. Jeong-Yeong Lee's on a 2-fight losing streak here. And both of these guys are in desperate need of a win. But it's Lee who's the younger fighter by 3 years. He's 3 inches taller. He's got a 4-inch reach advantage and a similar amount of pro experience. So a lot of measurables advantages on the Jeong-Yeong Lee side. Both of these guys have pretty much an identical amount of UFC experience with 4 fights and about 45 minutes of octagon time. When you look at the strength of schedule rankings, Jeong-Yeong Lee a little bit better. He's got 4 UFC fights. The average record of a Jeong-Yeong Lee opponent is winning a record of 2.3 wins and 2 losses with a 53% win percentage. And Gaston Bolanos, after 4 UFC fights, 1.3 win and 2.5 losses is the average record of his opponents. So his opponents only have a 33% win percentage. So Lee fighting the slightly more experienced brand of competition and with the slightly better records. He's ranked 52 out of 75 in this division in my strength schedule rankings, while Gaston Bolanos is near bottom of the barrel at number 72 out of 75. Jeong-Yeong Lee with a negative 25% ROI over 4 UFC fights. He's 2-2 with an average betting line of minus 178. Gaston Bolanos, 2-2 record, average betting line of plus 109 and 8% ROI. And he's done pretty well as an underdog, going with a 40% ROI with a plus 185 average betting line. Neither guy has a lot of momentum. 10-month layoff for Bolanos, about a 10-month layoff for Jeong-Yeong Lee. So, and then when it comes to where are these guys good, it's Bolanos is a better, here. Let me do this real quick, you guys. And get that in there. Bolanos is a Muay Thai world champion, so striking is what he does best, and his grappling is where he loses a lot of minutes. That's the easiest way to exploit Gaston Bolanos' weak spot is to make this dude wrestle and to make him grapple. He allows 3.97 takedowns per 15 minutes. He only has 43% takedown defense. and he's been controlled for 43.6% of his UFC cage time, winning only 23% of the control time positions in his fights. But Jeong-Yeong Lee hasn't been a lot better. He's got 11% control time for, but 43% control time against. So I think that this fight's going to come down to, if one of these guys can get a grappling game going, they're probably going to be able to win some minutes. I think Lee's much more likely to have grappling upside here. He's got better submissions, probably a little bit better wrestling, and he's bigger and more physical than Bolanos is. And while this is on the feet, Jeong-Yeong Lee is going to be taller. He's going to be longer. When it comes to head strikes, I think Lee's doing a little bit better there. 40% accuracy compared to 36% for Bolanos. He lands 2.04 compared to 1.52. But Bolanos has got a little bit better defense, he's absorbing less, I should say. Neither one of these guys has the best differential or head strike numbers. But, I think this fight's going to play out pretty close. If Jeong-Yeong Lee can't land a bomb on Gaston, or he can't get his grappling game going, I think that this fight's going to be pretty close to a 50-50 fight. The question is, can Lee find these moments? Is he in a place in his career where he's ready to bounce back from this 2-fight losing streak? Because the last guy that Jeong-Yeong Lee beat was literally tripping on acid. So he's got to bounce back, and he's still only 30 years old, and there's supposedly a lot of athleticism, a lot of natural power, a very opportunistic submission game, and a pretty high ceiling for this prospect out of South Korea, but he just hasn't proven it at this level yet. Outside of the really good performance against Blake Builder, he just hasn't looked good at all. But Bolanos is kind of like a pure striker with a massive hole in his grappling game, and we've seen him struggle at distance striking range again as well. So I think that this is, a fight that I'm probably going to stay away from, because I don't really want to get to a Gaston Bolanos bet, even though I think it's the plus EV side. But Jeong-Yeong Lee, measurables advantages, 3 years younger, 3 inches taller, 4-inch reach advantage, slight strength of schedule advantage, and a lot more moment winning upside in the grappling exchanges of this fight. Bolanos historically weak on the ground. Lee, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt with 3 career wins by submission. And Bolanos, he's a good striker. He can hurt you on the feet, but he's outperformed market expectations when priced as an underdog, going 1-1 with a 40% ROI, while Lee is disappointed as a favorite, going 2-2 with a negative 25% ROI. So it's important to note that these guys should be fairly well matched at distance striking range, and that Bolanos has kind of outperformed expectations by a little bit, while Lee has consistently underperformed expectations. So interesting fight between two guys who've underperformed thus far at the UFC level. Gaston Bolanos is a former Muay Thai world champion. He does his best work at distance striking range. He has the ability to knock you out with spinning shit, and he uses all 8 limbs well when he mixes up his attacks. Gaston has been weak on the ground, and he's never had the best takedown or submission defense, so he's historically been prone to losing minutes and moments in the grappling exchanges of his fights. However, if you sell out for the wrestling and get sloppy, and Gaston gets on top of you, he does damage when he gets on top. So he's not somebody that'll just like shy away completely from the grappling exchanges of his fights, but he definitely can do damage from top position if you sell out looking to get him down and you get a little bit sloppy. Jeong-Yeong Lee, he won the season 1 Road to UFC featherweight tournament with 2 consecutive first-round finishes in the quarter and semifinals, and then he won a split decision over Yi Jia in the finals. Since then, the hype has died down a bit on Lee after losing his last 2 fights against Haider Emil and Willie Catch Santos, especially when you consider that he was priced as a favorite in both of those matchups. So even though Lee hasn't won a fight since he beat Blake Builder, who was tripping on acid during the fight, and that was back in February of 2023, he's priced as a bigger favorite at minus 265 versus Bolanos than he has been in any of his 4 UFC fights thus far. So obviously the market is not high on Bolanos either. I think the distance striking exchanges of this fight are going to play out close, and I favor Lee in the grappling exchanges of this fight, but I don't trust Lee's ability to wrestle well enough to be dominant in that aspect of this fight, or to really expect that there's a good chance that he's going to bank a round or win a moment with his wrestling and grappling. These guys have been finished in 3 of their 4 combined UFC losses, and both guys have finish upside in this fight. So I think the under 1.5 or 2.5 rounds might be solid looks this week. I'm going to pick Jeong-Yeong Lee to win this fight by second round submission. And my favorite bets for this fight are Jeong-Yeong Lee by sub, sitting around plus 400, Bolanos by knockout at plus 450, and the under 2.5 rounds at minus 135. Not a bad look either. Personally, I'd rather play the Bolanos money line at plus 225 than I would lay juice on Jeong-Yeong Lee, because both guys lack momentum right now, and I think that they're pretty well matched at distance striking range. But the pick for this fight is going to be Jeong-Yeong Lee by second round submission. And I forgot to write that in my write-up, so let me just give me a second. Pick Geong. Excellent. All right. Let's see what you got. Oh my God, 30 comments in the chat. What the hell is going on? Let's see here. We got the solution is in the room saying, "Oi, what is up?" We got Tehran saying the man card isn't all that. Holloway Oliveira is carrying this whole card. I like those top 5 fights. Dober Johnson will be a fun fight, I think. I can't wait till UFC London. Easy money on there. I haven't looked at that one yet. Thanks for the awesome t-shirt you guys sent me 2 weeks ago. You guys rock. That would have been Brady that sent that. I don't have t-shirts yet. So Brady did do that, and I'm glad you like it, my man. We got Devtastic saying, "Don't diss Johnson Dober." We're all hyped for that one. It's going to be a great fight. I definitely love that fight. We got my guy Remdog in the room saying, "Oi, what is up, Remdog? Good to see you hanging out in here, brother." We got Tehran saying, "While Holloway will be the better striker between the two, I do feel it's some things Oliveira could do in the stand-up. His leg kicks, teep kicks to offset Max Holloway's rhythm. It's going to be interesting. Do I get on Dober? We'll talk about that one in a little bit. What you think about fading Trockley or what?" Yes, sir. Another thing Oliveira needs to do is get Max in the clinch for sure. And Condra is a beast. I cash on his KO at DWCS is plus 200. Bolanos gets his back taken in every single fight, and he's slow and low volume. Yeah, that's why I'm picking Lee by sub. Johnson Dober, a banger for sure. Uncle Weezy knows his Bolanos, says Mr. Wipeout. Crazy how they cut Jose Medina. He stinks. That's why they cut him. Condra is to get Trockley. Lee is not worth minus 300. Agreed. Yeah, they cut Medina, but they re-signed Tanner Bozer. Yeah, because they needed a Canada. They needed a Canadian on the Canada card. I don't know. He might. The line is wide. Passing on this fight. All right, you guys. Let's see. We got to move on to the next fight here, and that is going to be Mudaerji minus 240 going up against Jesus Aguilar plus 205. This is going to be a fun one here. Let me get those stats up for you guys. We're got to be back this way. Turcios Montes. So we got Turcios is going to be, or that's the wrong fight. What am I doing? Where is the Sue fight? There it is. So this is one where you're going to have literally the biggest guy in the division against the smallest guy in the division. Mudaerji's gigantic for the flyweight weight class. He's going to be listed at 4 inches taller. I think it's going to be a lot more than that. He's got a 10-inch reach advantage, and this is a southpaw versus orthodox matchup. Sue's got about 10 more pro fights and a little more experience at the UFC level. Mudaerji, 13-0 to the knockout. Mudaerji, 1-6 to the submission. And you can find those numbers down here in the bottom left corner. And we got, Jesus 7-2 to the sub, 1-0 to the knockout. So he's not really a knockout artist, although he did knock out Shannon Ross. So yeah, like Tszyu is somebody who does his best work at distance striking range. Jesus Aguilar is a well-rounded fighter who can kind of win minutes wherever the fight goes, and he's got a nasty guillotine that he can finish fights with. In terms of strength of schedule here, I've got Mudaerji ranked 36th out of 52, and I've got Jesus Aguilar ranked 47th out of 52. And the reason that is that the four guys that he's beaten at the UFC level, those guys have combined UFC records of 0 wins and 11 losses. So all 4 of his losses or wins, Shannon Ross, Mateus Mendoza, Stuart Nickel, and Louis Garule, all 4 of those guys don't have 1 win at the UFC level between them. But it's Aguilar who's got a phenomenal return on investment here at 54% over 6 UFC fights. He consistently outperforms market expectations. Aguilar's won 4 out of his last 5 fights, and Mudaerji brings a 2-fight win streak into this fight, and he looked pretty good in that Borjas fight. So yeah, and then when we look at the numbers here, let me resize the rows. Mudaerji's distance striking numbers are really good, and so are Aguilar's. Aguilar's got a positive 2.24 distance striking differential. Mudaerji's got a positive 3.19 distance striking differential. And Tszyu is only absorbing 2.06 significant strikes per minute when he's at distance striking range. So this dude is doing an excellent job of using that height and reach advantage to not just land damage, but to stay safe defensively. And the proof is in the pudding with a 69% distance striking defense for Mudaerji. Aguilar, though, he's shown that he can definitely do good work at distance striking range. The thing is, he's going to be 4 inches shorter and have a 10-inch reach disadvantage here. And while we've seen him at disadvantages at distance striking range before, Mudaerji is somebody who really is very, very good at utilizing that distance striking advantage. So let me read my summary for this fight here. There it is. The UFC matched the biggest guy in the division up against the smallest guy in the division, which means this fight comes down to which fighter can control the range that this fight takes place in. Mudaerji is one of the best strikers in the division. He has a 4-inch height and a 10-inch reach advantage, and he does an excellent job of using those attributes to control the range of his fight and take very little damage at range. Tszyu has more UFC experience. He's fought and beaten the better names in the UFC, and he's performed very well in the fights that he's been priced as a favorite in, going 4 wins and 1 loss with a 15% ROI. The only loss against Danger Schnell. And remember, that loss was he was kicking Schnell's ass for the entire fight and then kind of got just gassed out after the ref wouldn't stop the fight. And then he wound up getting put in a triangle after getting dropped himself and losing. Now, Jesus Aguilar, he's going to need to pressure forward. He needs to get into the pocket and put together extended combinations. Jesus thrives in dirty fights, and he's dangerous when he's wrestling and scrambling due to how dangerous his guillotine choke is. And we've seen Mudaerji be submitted in 6 of his 7 professional losses. So Jesus is well-rounded. He has excellent conditioning. He consistently outperforms market expectations, going 4 wins and 2 losses in the UFC, despite being priced as an underdog in 5 of those 6 fights. He's had a 54% ROI over those 6 fights. So this is going to be a tough row to hoe for Aguilar. Mudaerji is extremely difficult to close distance against at range, and his takedown defense and get-up game look much improved in recent fights. So I don't know how much success Aguilar is going to have trying to get this fight to the ground or creating scrambles. Mudaerji should be able to win the minutes at distance striking range, while limiting the grappling upside of Aguilar. And he has the big cage to move around in, which will help with the pressure of Aguilar. I think Mudaerji wins the minutes and banks the rounds of this fight with his striking and his anti-grappling, and that he wins this fight by decision. Aguilar is a durable guy, but he's never faced any power punchers in the UFC, and this is the best striker he's been matched up against by a mile at this level. So I could see Mudaerji winning this fight both by knockout or by decision. Aguilar by sub at plus 335 is always a prop that has a chance of hitting, and Aguilar consistently looks for the gilly, but I think Mudaerji wins this fight at a pretty high clip. Sue's money line at minus 240. It feels like a decent parlay piece to me this week. And Sue Mudaerji by decision is a bet that my prop model likes quite a bit. The pick is going to be Sue Mudaerji by decision. That's available at plus 125, and I think that's very bettable. Aguilar by sub at plus 335. That also has my attention because he's a guillotine merchant. And I think the Sue Mudaerji money line at minus 240 is a pretty good look this week. All right. To be fair, Raposo is a better opponent than anyone Aguilar fought. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely got Sue Mudaerji with the strength of schedule advantage here. Sue has no takedown defense. I would be careful if you have him in a parlay. Did you see the last couple of fights, though? His grappling game is starting to look a lot better. He stuffed a lot of the takedowns in the Borjas fight, who he tried to take him down, and Raposo was shooting takedowns as well and just had no success. And Raposo is a guy that has some pretty good wrestling, definitely a wrestling background. So, Jesus, the dog, Aguilar dog of the week, says Sam, and I'll break down how he has more than one way to win on probability. All right, sounds good. Let's see. We got, all right. Aguilar has only beaten fighters with 0 wins in the UFC is definitely something to consider. Yeah, man, because you always have to look at not just the strength of schedule overall, but the strength of the wins, because sometimes there's a big gap between the talent of the guys that are beating somebody and the talent of the guys that they're beating. And when you fight somebody that's in between those two guys, it's hard to know how that's going to play out. So, Zach Lane saying, by the way, how sick are Stat Digger's shows? Longtime fan, Uncle Weez. Appreciate you, Zach. I hope you enjoy the show. Esco says he likes Cody No Love on the dog money. You got to let you know which Cody, because there's 3 Codys this week. So Cody Garbrandt for Esco. That's his dog of the week. J-Mo saying, just realized this is Balls Deep Breakdowns, not just the tip, my guy. Thank you. Yeah, man, for sure. All right. Joseph saying that he has no wrestling at all, Aguilar. He gets his subs through scrambles or by hurting people with wild shots. Yep. And yeah, and that's the thing. Team Alpha Male known for their guillotine, right? So like, Sue's going to get some real good work about how to defend the guillotine against some real guillotine merchants over there at Alpha Male. All right, let's move on to the next fight. Cody Durden going up against Nyamjargal Tumendemberel. We got Cody plus 115, the underdog. Tumendemberel minus 135 here. And I kind of like a fight doesn't go to decision for this fight. The fight doesn't go to decision is sitting at, we don't have it yet. So this is 2 guys at different places in their career right now. Cody is not bringing a lot of momentum into this fight. As we could see in the last 5 fights here, he's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. He's underdogs in all 4 of those fights, but the only time he was priced as a favorite, he did win. So the market has had a pretty good idea of how to price Cody Durden's fights. Nyamjargal, somebody that kind of needs it needs a little bit more seasoning. We don't know exactly what to expect from this guy yet. But he's a great moment winner. He's an opportunistic submission grappler. Everything that he throws at distance striking range is with the intention of knocking you out. So I feel like Cody Durden, being the much more experienced, tested, well-rounded fighter here with a lot more process to his game, I think that he's got a lot of minute winning upside in this fight, while Nyamjargal is a guy that has got a ton of moment winning upside. He's got power on the feet. He's very aggressive with his Brazilian jiu-jitsu on the mat. So I think he could knock Durden out potentially, and I think he could potentially find a submission because Cody Durden has been submitted 4 times in the UFC and 5 times as a professional. Durden, the much better wrestler here. If we look at the numbers, Cody Durden over his UFC career is somebody that has clearly demonstrated the ability to win minutes with his grappling. Cody Durden is getting 3.99 takedowns per 15 minutes and only allowing 0.46. He controls his opponents 39% of his octagon time and only gets controlled 9% of his octagon time and is winning over 80% of the control time positions in his fights. Now, Nyamjargal is only winning 5% of the control time positions in his fights. So while Nyamjargal is going to be very dangerous, like just winging bombs on the feet, he's going to be looking to kill Cody with everything that he throws on the feet or in the clinch. Cody's going to have opportunities to kind of exploit Tumendemberel's horseshit takedown defense and to win minutes with top time and ground and pound here. Cody's I think he's won only 1 out of his last 6 fights. So at his age, he needs, he can't worry about like putting on a show here. What he needs to do is win this fight and get a show check because he's almost 35 years old in the flyweight division. So, Father Time is undefeated, and this is not a division that old fighters fare well in. So, yeah, I feel like this is going to be the moment winning of Tumendemberel going up against the minute winning and experience and strength of schedule advantage of Cody Durden. So let me get my analysis for this fight ready for you guys. This fight is going to be the veteran guile and minute winning of Cody Durden against the moment winning upside of Nyamjargal Tumendemberel. Cody Durden is a southpaw with 13 more UFC fights than Nyamjargal has. He's fought and beaten the better brand of competition, and his high-level wrestling and high-output striking style make him a very difficult opponent to win minutes off of. And Nyamjargal has never been a gifted minute winner. Tumendemberel is 7 years younger. He's got a 4-inch reach advantage, and he has way more momentum and positive career trajectory coming into this fight. And his ability to win moments wherever the fight goes is a huge asset against a 34-year-old opponent who's been finished in 7 of his 9 career losses. Now, Cody Durden has a habit of looking great in a fight until the point that he loses a big moment and winds up losing the fight. The Nascimento fight comes to mind. The Brunno Silva fight comes to mind. Let's see, where was I? And that's exactly how Tumendemberel wins fights. It's hard to back Durden knowing he could win all of the minutes of this fight up until the point Tumendemberel lands a bomb on the feet or snatches up Cody's neck in a scramble. I think this fight is going to be, Durden by decision, which is sitting at about plus 400, or Tumendemberel inside the distance at plus 145. I'm going to side with the younger, hungrier fighter with more momentum and positive career trajectory and fight finishing upside. And I'm going to pick Tumendemberel to win this one by second round knockout. So there's that one. Art of knockout by knockout in round 2. And I also am going with Mudaerji by decision, I think is what we picked for that fight, right? Mudaerji by decision, yes. So, yeah, that's what we've got for this one, you guys. Like, I do believe that my favorite bets for this fight are just Tumendemberel inside the distance, Cody Durden by decision, Cody Durden decision only, because Cody's the better minute winner here. So I think if you take the decision only, you're going to get it around plus money. And because of that, then you don't have to worry about Tumendemberel finishing, because that dude is a serious finisher. So like, if he doesn't win that moment, he just hasn't illustrated the ability to consistently win minutes at the UFC level yet. So that's the way I'm looking at this fight. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Let's see. Cody should move up. My guy Zach saying, by the way, is there a PayPal or a buy me a coffee button to donate to the big Uncle Weez? I think I've got, no, I don't have my PayPal in the description of this video. But Zach, if you want to donate, click the link in the description of the video and do 1 month's membership for only $12.50 of the probability stats and content package. That's literally the best way to donate to this show, because then that way I don't get a chunk taken out by the powers that be. I get all of that money. So I know a lot of people don't want to donate that much, but it would be a $12.50 investment, but it would also get you access to all the content that I do every month. And I mean, it's literally like 16 hours I sit in front of the camera every month and do just content that people don't see for free on YouTube. So that would be the best way. Frank's got RDR, Turcios, Durden, and Bellato this week. And he thinks if Diyar's taking his Tourette's meds, he wins. I highly value Nyamjargal's win over Topnoy Kiram. That guy smokes with cigarettes before every fight and after every fight, too. Yeah, that's a great name, too. His name is like Thongasek Chet Wuttergog or something like that. It's a wild fucking name. Topnoy Kiram is so much easier to say. But, yeah, man, I mean, if you can beat dudes that smoke with cigarettes, man, that's a big win. And, yeah, I would love to support the guys giving us the goods for free. Appreciate you, Zach. That's awesome of you, man. Frank Turnip, ain't no way you got Bellato. Blockhead Bellato by split. I don't rate loot yet. I need to see more. Same madman that parlayed Levick, Medic, and Strickland a couple weeks ago. That's a big hit. Bellato quit against Paul Craig. Allegedly quit, Sam. Tobias submits. Oh, no, a spladle. Come on. We got Sonny in the room. I'm confused with the spreadsheet. Where are the fighters for me to see who wins? Well, you don't see who wins in there. You just see like the statistics in there. So anything on the left side here is Cody Durden. Anything on the right side here is Nyamjargal, Tumendemberel, and the stats are listed either up here in the blue in terms of what we're looking at, and the specific stats are right here in the middle row of each of these bars. That's when you could tell what the stats are. But in terms of who's going to win the fight, that's a different part. And I'm not putting my predictions in these stats. I'm just putting the facts in there, the stats, the metrics, the career stats of these guys. Zach Lane saying, Samurai, that's all that needs to be said, my friend. Facts. I got the draw to Jimmy Crute in my back pocket just in case. There you go. I think if it goes over 1.5, very high chance for a Bellato to at least plus 3.5 to hit. Bare minimum, he wins round 3. The Mongolian kid made Carlos Fernandez look like Hamzat. Yeah, I know. But Hernandez is a good fighter. He's a well-rounded, experienced, well-tested fighter. But yeah, Hernandez was out wrestling him easily. I like it when you tell the fighters to get live as the fight goes. That is next level. Yeah, that's for sure. Sam saying, I like what I'm seeing from Luke Fernandez, and this feels like a layup fight to me. Still a fight at the end of the day, so who knows? Anything can happen. Live bets is a cheat code, that's for sure, man, when you got that kind of knowledge. All right, you guys, move on to the next fight. Donte Johnson, Cody Brundage. Johnson minus 650, juice to the tits money line here, going up against the more experienced and tested Cody Brundage, plus 460 underdog. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at minus 600 for this fight. So I'm going to just bring up the stats for you guys here and just read my breakdown. Is this the wrong sheet? That is the wrong sheet. This is the one we need. So there we go. And we'll do it for the stats sheet too. $27. There we go. Okay, so I'll leave that up for you guys while I take you through my write-up. So Donte Johnson, he's a scary prospect with decent wrestling and terrifying power in his strikes. He's 4 years younger than Cody Brundage, And he's definitely the more powerful striker of the two, even though Cody's got good power in his own right. And he brings way more momentum and positive career trajectory into this fight. But Donte only has 7 pro fights and 19 minutes of professional cage time. So there's still a ton of unanswered questions about him. Now, Cody Brundage, he's a known quantity. He's 31 years old. He's got 14 fights at the UFC level. In all 5 of his UFC wins, they came by way of first-round finish. Cody is a good hammer, but he's a bad nail. He's not a durable fighter, and he's never shown the ability to win minutes and bank rounds with measured striking and consistent grappling. But he can find moments early in fights that result in finishes. I think Donte is just as capable, if not more, of finding the early moment in this fight. But I also believe Johnson has more heart and potentially has the ability to be dangerous even after the first round. We've seen Cody several times after round 1, and I don't remember him ever winning a round or having a big moment. So I do think he's first-round finish or bust here. I see Donte kind of weathering that early storm, and if he makes it to the second round without taking a lot of damage, I can see him finding the knockout finish in the second round. Cody Brundage has sizable UFC experience, strength of schedule, and wrestling advantages that we don't want to ignore. But the reality is he doesn't present a lot of problems after he gets hurt or after the first round is over. So I'm going to go with the younger and hungrier and more explosive fighter, and I'm going to pick him to win this fight by second round knockout. But the only bet that I like for this fight is Brundage round 1, because that's plus 1,200. That's summed up 100% of this young man's win condition over 14 UFC fights. So if you don't want to back the Brundage money line at plus 450, you can back Brundage by first round finish at plus 1,200, only put a quarter unit on it, and have a 3-unit hit if Cody pulls off yet another first round finish against a very inexperienced and not tested fighter here in Donte Lockjaw Johnson. So interesting fight, but I am going to go with Lockjaw to win this one by knockout in the second round. But, like I say, don't get too caught up on, some of Cody's recent performances, because there are reasons to back him here. He, when you're getting the more experienced and tested fighter with the better wins, I think that there is something always to be said for that. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Let's see here. Dante's minus 800 now. My God. Luke has 4 rounds and his cardio looked completely fine, but that was mostly a clinch fight. Got him at minus 450 in a parlay. Free square, says Remdog. Call me insane, but I'm going to play Brundage round 1 plus 1,200. You are not insane. Brundage on short notice is round 1 or bust, obviously. Yeah, and I forgot to mention, Cody's on 2 weeks' notice here, so that's going to matter. Joseph saying, and Donte low-key didn't look good in it and doesn't dumbass in round 1. Please don't use much money. Donte Johnson and over 1.5, says Ullman. Yeah, small play, says Joe. Zach saying, damn, all the Codys have a path to victory. Maybe not Brundage. So play the Durden and Garbrandt parlay and hold your nuts, says Zach. Yeah, I played the Brundage KO against Malkoon, and the sportsbook counted DQ as a KO. Yes, that's right. Yep. Dumas low-key looked like he threw the sub to hit a bet last fight versus Donte. Yeah, I know. What was Cormier? Cormier was like, oh my God, he's going to tap, like before the thing was even in. You could tell. Yeah, he tapped before it even came in. Bad vibes, but I think he should beat Brundage, I think. I don't like the short turnaround after the knockout. Yeah, neither do I, because he got knocked out brutally in the last fight and then had to fly back from Australia, and he's taking a real quick turnaround here. I watched Donte get head kicked, KO'd, and that wasn't even 3 years ago. Brundage is where the value is on this fight, says Ullman. Yeah, too quick of a turnaround. Donte isn't it. He's beaten nobody. And Brundage's last fight was in Australia. And he had moments in the first round against Roston, arguably won the first round. Maybe he did. Thanks for giving us the plus 300 dog a few fights ago. I won. Good. What fucking commission cleared fight? Yeah, I don't know, man. It is kind of dirty because it's a very quick turnaround after a knockout. So, Yeah, the next one that we're going to talk about here is Cody Garbrandt versus Long Xiao. We got Cody is plus 125, Long Xiao minus 145, and the fight doesn't go to decision for this fight. Is sitting at minus 115. So let's get these stats up here for you guys and break down this fight. Get these resized. Okay. Get these resized. Okay. And the first thing that you notice here is that Long Xiao is like almost 7 years younger than Cody Garbrandt. And Cody's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. Like, both wins are almost meaningless against Trevin Jones and Brian Kelleher, who are just turbo washed. But then the losses are against quality opponents like Hani Barcelos, Davison Figueiredo, Kai Kara France. But Xiao Long has been fighting mostly like road to UFC guys. Last 5 fights, Su Young-Yu, Quang Li, Chang Ho Lee, Shuya Kamibuko, Shohei Noze, and he fought Christian Quinones a little while back on Dana White's Contender Series, lost that fight. But, you know, obviously there's a big difference in strength of schedule here. You know, you got a guy in Xiao Long who only has 3 UFC fights compared to 16 for Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt and Xiao Long both are facing guys with 60% win percentages, but like Cody's average opponent has an 8 win and a 5.5 loss record, while for Xiao Long it's a 2 win and 1.3 loss record. So obviously Cody's fighting the more experienced brand of competition with the much better, much better strength of schedule. And, you know, he's ranked in as a strong strength of schedule here in the top 20% of the division at number 12 out of 75. While Xiao Long's right around average, but he's only got 3 UFC fights, so it's probably even lower than where it's being posted right here at number 37. But neither one of these guys has been good with their return on investment. Negative return on investment for both guys. Cody does a little bit better as an underdog than he does as a favorite. And Xiao Long 1-1 as a favorite, but all of his fights have been close. You know, split decision against Shohei Noze, majority decision against Kamibuko, split decision against Chang Ho Lee. He knocked out Quang Li, and then he had a very close fight against Su Young-Yu that could have went either way as well. So Xiao Long, and I want to point this out too, Xiao Long is a bigger favorite against a former champion in Cody Garbrandt than he was against Su Young-Yu. He was plus 115 versus Su Young-Yu. He was only minus 150 against Quang Li. He was minus 127 against Chang Ho Lee. He's plus 175 on road to UFC against Shuya Kamibuko and plus 125 against Nose. While Cody's fighting guys like Barcelos, Figueiredo, Kai Kara France. I mean, he's been fighting for belts, 5-round fights. So obviously Cody Garbrandt, a massive strength of schedule advantage here. He performs a little bit better as an underdog than Xiao Long does as a favorite, and a lot of UFC experience advantage here for Garbrandt. But Xiao Long, the younger fighter, with a 5-inch reach advantage, and he does a little bit more at range. You know, if you look here, Cody Garbrandt only lands 2.9 distance strikes per minute, while Xiao Long lands 4.4. And he throws almost twice as much volume per minute as Garbrandt does. But Garbrandt's a lot more defensively responsible. He's a lot faster, and he's got better power numbers than Xiao Long does. You know, Cody Garbrandt has landed 11 knockdowns in 16 UFC fights. So that's very impressive. Neither one of these guys really has much grappling upside. So, I mean, like, I think that the distance striking numbers are very important for this fight. Garbrandt, negative distance striking differential. Xiao Long, positive distance striking differential. And Xiao Long actually has better head strike accuracy, but it's Garbrandt who has better head strike defense. this is going to be probably a very close fight, but this is the easiest fight that Cody Garbrandt has had since he fought, Trevin Jones and Brian Kelleher, and he won both of those fights. So I think that there's just a discount on the Garbrandt money line. How are you going to make a guy like Xiao Long a bigger favorite over Cody Garbrandt than he was over Su Young Yu and like Shohei Noze? It doesn't make any sense. I get it that Garbrandt is 34 years old. He's chinny. But like Xiao Long doesn't have any wrestling upside. Xiao Long doesn't have the kind of power that I worry about Garbrandt being too chinny. And it's not even close if you consider who's the more technical striker, who's the faster striker, who's the better sniper, who's more defensively sound. I think Garbrandt's got all of that in spades, but I think that this is going to be a very close fight. I could see either guy winning it. Xiao Long is probably going to be doing more. He's probably going to be looking a little bit better optically. He's probably going to be pressuring forward here, while Garbrandt, who's typically very low volume, is probably just going to be looking to land big shots. But like Xiao Long's durable, he takes damage well, and he stays in your face. So I think that he might be able to just outwork Cody Garbrandt a little bit here at distance striking range. But this is such a huge step up in competition that I would say that don't you guys shouldn't care who I'm picking to win this fight, because I do think it's going to play out close, but I'm pretty confident it's going to play out close. So if you're going to give me the more experienced fighter, the faster fighter, the better technical striker, the more tested fighter with a massive UFC experience and strength of schedule advantage here, I think the Cody Garbrandt money line at plus 125 is a much better play than the Xiao Long money line at minus 145. And I just think it comes down to like, this is going to be a coin flip when it hits the scorecards. And I think it is going to hit the scorecards here. I don't think Long Xiao is going to be a big finisher. And I don't really see Cody kind of like returning to being a knockout artist. So I think I'm just going to go with the younger, hungrier fighter to just do a little bit more. But he's gotten fucked on the scorecards a couple of times. So when it comes to the prop bets for this fight, I'd rather have Cody Garbrandt by decision at plus 400 than Xiao Long by decision at plus 165. And Xiao Long's KO prop at plus 500 is a bet that my model likes quite a bit. But like I said, I don't think he's going to find a knockout here. I think if he does win, it's going to be a decision. Fight goes at minus 115 is a bet that my model hates, but stylistically, I like it. But I think that there might be more money coming in on violence here. And if it does, we might be able to get the fight goes at plus money. So I'm interested to see how that works out. But yeah, the pick is going to be Xiao Long to win this fight by decision. All right. Let's see. We got Truth Hurts in here saying, how we doing, Weezy? Pretty good, my man. Giving out the content for free that I normally only do for the Odds Shopper subscribers this week. Playing Cody Garbrandt has not been profitable as of late, that's for sure. Ben Ryder says someone give him a two-fighter underdog parlay. Ferreira and Font says Jacob. Uncle Weezy early this week. I always go live either Tuesday or Wednesday for my Odds Shopper subs. And this is not just the tip greasy four-legger. This is my usual full card breakdown that I do only for my paid subscribers this week. I'm giving out all my content for free this week. Garbrandt pissed me off after round 1 versus Hani. I think the juice is up for him. Yeah, it probably is. Avoiding this one, and so am I. Played Cody decision at plus 450. I can see him just dancing around and picking his shots. Long has horrific fight IQ. Yes, he does. I personally think it goes long. I think it goes to decision at a pretty high click. Me too. I think Cody's cardio he's been showing as of late hasn't been great, especially against a guy who will be throwing so much and pressuring so much. We got Matua in the room saying, what's good? What is up, dude? All is well. Goes to split is plus 600. I don't mind that. Matua saying Cody's got this one. Sam saying Ferreira Aguilar is the dog parlay. And Matua saying, do you play entire card round robins? No, I don't. I don't usually do like the multiple leg parlays other than, like a 3-leg Lambo type parlay that I call the take this job and shove it parlay, and a 3-leg juice parlay. But I should start putting it just 2 legs. 3-leg parlays are not plus EV. All right, let's move on to the next fight. Gregory Rodrigues versus Brunno. Or did I forget about? I forgot about Drew Dober. No, that one's coming up later. So yeah, let's do the Rodrigues versus Ferreira fight. Rodrigues minus 200, Ferreira plus 170. And this is a rematch of a fight that took place already back in 2023, and Gregory Rodrigues won that one by knockout. When we look at the stats for this fight, it's Brunno who's the slightly younger fighter and the guy who won the first matchup between these two. But it's going to be Gregory Rodrigues who's taller and longer here. 3-inch reach advantage, 4-inch height, 5-inch height advantage. He's got more UFC experience. He's got the better strength of schedule ranking here at 31 out of 80 compared to 47 out of 80 for Ferreira. More UFC fights, slightly better win percentage of his opponents, slightly more experienced opponents with better records. Last 5 fights for Gregory, he's won 4 out of 5. The only one that he lost was a 5-round fight against Jared Cannonier where he was kicking Cannonier's ass early, but then it looked like he might have gassed out a little bit going for that finish, and Cannonier wound up coming back and getting a finish of his own. Brunno Ferreira also 4-1 over his last 5 fights, with the only loss coming to Abus Magomedov in round 3 by submission. Both of these guys profitable at the window, 32% ROI for Rodrigues, 51% ROI for Ferreira. And Rodrigues is a favorite, only a 1% ROI, while Ferreira is an underdog, 94% ROI. So, we saw Ferreira thrive as an underdog, 3-1 record with an average betting line of plus 140 in the UFC, and he cashed as like a plus 250 underdog in his first matchup against Gregory Rodrigues, knocking him out in the first round. When it comes to the stats here, Gregory Rodrigues is going to be the better grappler. He's got okay wrestling, but he's got high-level Brazilian jiu-jitsu, while Brunno Ferreira is a judo guy. So when Brunno gets you in the clinch, he has the capability to kind of get takedowns with sweeps, reaps, and trips. And he's got some submissions on his record as well. At distance striking range, it's going to be Gregory who's doing more and landing more, but Ferreira is a tricky guy to deal with. He's got really good movement. He kind of stays up on his toes and has like a high energy, high movement style, a lot of lateral movement, a lot of stance switching. While Gregory is definitely a pressure fighter who throws an above average amount of volume, whether he's in the clinch or on the ground or at distance striking range. And he will mix in some takedowns. He's landing about 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. He wins about 73% of the control time positions in his fights. And a lot of people wish, Gregory Rodrigues would go to the wrestling and the grappling more because he is very good on the ground. But some of these guys fall in love with their hands, and Gregory Rodrigues has admitted that that's what happened to him. So my analysis for this fight is that this is a rematch of a fight that took place in January of 2023. Rodrigues was a minus 290 favorite, and it was Brunno Ferreira's UFC debut. Ferreira knocked Rodrigues out in the first round with a counter left hand. Since that loss, Rodrigues has gone 5 wins and 1 loss over his next 6 fights, so he's bounced back well. And Ferreira has gone 5 wins and 2 losses since knocking out Rodrigues, proving that win wasn't a fluke. So the market is seeing this fight similarly to how they saw the first matchup. And the market was wrong the first time. Rodrigues was a minus 290 favorite, and he's minus 200 in the rematch. So the market still thinks Rodrigues' UFC experience, strength of schedule, grappling, and conditioning advantages give him way more ways to win this fight. Brunno, though, has a very tricky style to deal with at range. He's light on his feet. He stays on his toes. He uses a lot of movement and stance switching, and he blasts his way into range with multiple punch combos. Brunno has real power in his strikes and his deceptive speed and explosiveness allows him to find moments at distant striking range, and his fire plug-esque physique makes him difficult to deal with in the clinch due to his dirty boxing and his judo black belt. Brunno's high energy and explosive style does slow him down later in fights, so he does tend to be early finish or bust. Gregory has the better tools to win the moments of this, or the minutes of this fight in the second and third rounds, so I do have to favor him to win. However, Brunno is always dangerous early, and he's definitely live to find a moment in round 1 or 2 that presents an opportunity for him to finish. I'm going to go with Gregory Rodrigues to survive the early storm from Brunno, start to wear on him with pressure and volume in the second, and finish him via knockout in the third. I'd rather play the Rodrigues money line than Rodrigues inside the distance at -117. And Rodrigues by decision at +525 is actually pretty tempting. I think people just assume Bruno Ferreira is going to be super easy to finish, but he's gotten finished by some pretty good fighters. So we will see if that trend continues. But nice decision win over Marvin Vettori in his last fight. And Ferreira's, proven that he's a UFC level guy. So he might not be an easy guy to finish at this point in his career. So Rodrigues' money line is sitting at -200-ish, but his decision prop is +525. And 3 of Rodrigues' 9 wins do come by decision at the UFC level. So I think it might be a decent look this week. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Let's see. We got my guy JW Beast with the super sticker, $5. Ring a ding ding. Appreciate you, JWD. You're always making nice donations here, man. I hope you enjoy the free content that I'm putting out this week. We got Hulk is my underdog of the week, says R3 prediction. Yeah, well, he won the first fight, so not bad. Do I ever bet 2-leg parlays? Yes, I do. RoboCop is definitely best dressed for media day, but Brunno got this. RoboCop, he walking into punches. He does sometimes, and he's been knocked out in 4 of his 6 losses. Let's win some money on this card, says my guy JWD, and I agree. Can't wait to get extremely rich off of this card. I wish the best for you all, says Matua. We got Brandon saying RoboCop doesn't want to get flatlined again. Think he'll be patient and clinch a lot. Liking the over 1.5. I tend to agree with you, dude. I don't mind the overs in this fight. Rodrigues decision +575 is a pretty good look as well. Brunno, the more aggressive jiu-jitsu player. Yeah, but I mean, it's definitely Rodrigues who's got the accolades. He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu world champion. Woozler saying, thanks for the vid, man. You're very welcome. Please consider joining up on the Odds Shopper probability stats and content package. Link is in the description of this video. Link to the stats is in the description of this video. Link to the fight write-ups also in the description of this video. Red Pill saying, one of the most underrated MMA handicappers in the game. Good to see, Weezy. Stack them tickets like flapjacks, brother. Thank you for hanging out. Red Pill, good to see you hanging out in here. JWD saying, I have some money on Max and over 1.5 rounds with the Robo fight. Frank Turum saying, weird one, but I think this goes decision. Brunno can catch a sub potentially. Bruno's got this. Hobocop decision at +500. I don't mind it, dude. Yeah. Fight goes +300. Best 3-leg parlay. I don't know yet. I think they both respect each other's power in this one. Over 1.5 is fire. And Robocop by decision is healthy. Agree. All right, let's move on to the next fight, which is going to be this Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson fight. So this is one I'm not going to be touching this one with a 10-foot pole. I do like Johnson here. Both of these guys are, getting up there in age. Obviously, Michael Johnson's 39 years old. Drew Dober is, oh, God damn it. Excuse me for just a sec, guys. Like I said, I was trying to get all this done before showtime, and I barely got it all done. So paste values. All right, there, everything fills up. Okay. Resize to 27 so you guys can see it. Oh, come on. There we go. So Michael, oh, God damn it. Michael Johnson is 39 years old, and Drew Dober is 37. It's Johnson who's going to be a couple inches taller and have a 3-inch reach advantage, and it's a southpaw versus southpaw matchup. So leg kicks are going to matter. Jab is going to matter, and like Johnson's got a great jab. We'll see if he's able to use that consistently out of the southpaw stance. And Drew Dober's got really good kicks. He could potentially land a lot of leg kicks. And he's going to probably be the one pressuring forward more, throwing with a little bit more power. Both of these guys have a ton of experience, almost identical in UFC experience numbers. Drew Dober, excellent strength of schedule. I don't know why he's ranked 45th out of 93. He should be in the top 20. Michael Johnson, 9th out of 93. But you can tell that Johnson is the one that's fighting the more experienced brand of competition with the better win-loss ratios, better ratio overall, better ratio in the wins, and similar numbers in the losses. So Michael Johnson does have a slight strength of schedule advantage here, and he's got a big momentum advantage. Drew Dober looks completely washed to me. He lost 3 fights in a row to Moicano, Gene Silva, Manny Torres, and then the Prepolek fight he was losing up until he got that late finish because of the point being taken in the 3rd round. And Prepolek is not even close to the level of striker that a Michael Johnson is. So right now, I think that these guys, are both nearing the end of their career, but one of these guys is fighting well, and the other one just isn't. I do think that it's obviously Johnson's wins aren't as good recently. Like, he's fighting guys like Darius Flowers, Atmanaz Aitar, Daniel Zellhuber. But Drew Dober's last 2 wins are against Ricky Glenn and Kyle Prepolek. So, I think that Johnson's probably been fighting the easier guys over the last 6 or 7 fights, but he's been fighting at a higher level. When we look at the striking stats, because neither one of these guys ever wrestles offensively that much, I do think that it's going to come down to who wins at distance striking range. Both of these guys have negative distance or head strike differentials. Dober a little bit more accurate. Johnson a little bit better defensively. And he absorbs a little bit less. At distance striking range, Johnson the better numbers. Positive 1.38 distance striking differential. But it's Dober who probably has a little bit more power in his strikes. 6 knockdown differential, 7 for Johnson. So both of these guys have solid knockdown differentials. But to me, I'm going to be picking Michael Johnson by decision because he just seems to be fighting at a higher level right now. I like the height advantage. I like the reach advantage. I think he might be a little bit faster than Drew Dober at this point, and he just looks to be fighting at a higher level. So I'm going to go with Michael Johnson to win this fight by decision. So what did I have? RoboCop by decision. Drew Dober, Michael Johnson. I got winning this one by decision. And let's see. Anthony says, Shama, hit that like button. Appreciate you. We got Forrest Daniel saying, Uncle Weezy with 327 in Miami coming up. Do you think yourself and brother Brady might go to that insane card? I'm too busy, man. I can't even, shit's too busy, you guys. If you guys want me to go to Miami, start signing up for the probability stats and content package. Give your Uncle Weezy some money. I'll start flying around and meeting you guys. Besides the main event, what fight am I most excited for? I think I'd Caio Borralho versus Renier de Ritter or Font Rosas or Dober Johnson. It's everything on the main card. Everything below that, I'm a lot less interested in. But I'm interested to see how these debutantes do. Yeah, I love Johnson a lot. A little bit of Dober for the meme. Let's see. Knockdown differential is just how many you've landed compared to how many you've absorbed. So if you landed 10 and you absorbed 1, you have a positive 9 knockdown differential. If you landed 2 and absorbed 9, you have a negative 7 knockdown differential. Sam's going to be at UFC Miami, Florida guy. There we go. My dad's not far from Miami. He's in Fort Myers. It'd be a decent drive, but I would probably just fly directly into Miami if I was going to that. And let's see, Holloway plus Johnson, Ben Ryder, what I gave you is plus 164. Charles and DeRitter at plus money. Garbrandt says Anthony. Damare is saying that don't forget Dober is a lock against black guys. Yeah, he's definitely won against the black guys. I don't know why that is, but he's just done well. So let's see if that trend continues. But I don't bet on trends like that. All right, you guys, let's move on to the next fight. Striker versus grappler. We got Rob Font at plus 190 going up against Raul Rosas Jr. at minus 225. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at about plus 140 for this fight. So the first thing that jumps out here is the massive age difference between these two guys, in that we've got Rob Font sitting at 38 years old and Raul Rosas at 21. I don't remember the last time we saw a 17-year age difference. I think it might have been when Kovalevich fought Yasmin Lucindo, maybe. Resize these to 27. But yeah, we just don't see age differences like this, you know, and they do matter. But obviously with age differences like this, when the older fighter is a veteran like Font, there's going to be massive strength of schedule and experience advantages that go with the aging fighter in Font here. So yeah, Font the striker, Rosas the grappler. Font coming off a very close loss against David Martinez, and then he had a very close win against Jane Matsumoto, beat Kyler Phillips, and then lost pretty handily to both Davison Figueiredo and Corey Sandhagen before that. Raul Rosas is on a 4-fight winning streak, but against absolute nobodies in Terrence Mitchell, Ricky Turquoise, Aori Kwai Lang, and Vince Morales. And he's minus 750, minus 225, minus 1,000, minus 480. So he's had several squash matches in his last few fights. Now, the guy who's ranked 59th out of 75 in the division in terms of strength of schedule is going to be fighting a guy who's ranked 8th in the division out of 75 with an elite strength of schedule and an elite level of competition in Rob Font. While this fight is on the feet, it's going to be all Font. He's tall. Well, he's listed as shorter than Rosas. There's no fucking way that he's shorter than Rosas. Rob Font will be the taller guy, and he's got a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. And he's going to be the much better striker while this fight is on the feet. And obviously, Raul Rosas is very dangerous when the fight goes to the ground, and he's a pretty relentless wrestler in trying to get it there. So let's get these resized, and I'll read you guys the summary for the fight that I wrote up. All right. So this is a striker versus grappler matchup that also happens to be a crafty veteran versus a hyped prospect matchup, all in the same package. Rob Font is way better on the feet, but Raul Rosas is a suffocating grappler who rarely spends time at distance striking range. Raul is 17 years younger. He has more momentum and positive career trajectory and a massive minute and moment winning advantage in the grappling exchanges of this fight. Rob Font has sizable UFC experience and strength of schedule advantages over Rosas, and the 4-inch reach advantage he has over Rosas will allow him to take advantage of his long-range weapons while this fight is at distance striking range. Rosas is the rightful favorite in this matchup, considering the differences in age, momentum, career trajectory, and grappling prowess. But this is a huge step up in competition against the guy who has only been submitted once in 31 pro fights. If Rosas slows down in the second half of this fight and is not able to consistently secure takedowns and top time, Font's forward pressure and constant volume at distance striking range are going to give him massive problems. Now, Rob Font has 44% takedown defense, and he's allowed 24% control time to his opponents over a 20-fight UFC sample size. So I do believe that Raul will be able to exploit that hole in Font's game, which should allow him to win the minutes and bank the rounds of this fight and potentially even finish this fight with a submission. Rob Font's recent move to train at TriStar under head coach Firas Zahabi is a good move for him, and we've seen Font continue to look solid in recent fights against other young up-and-coming prospects like David Martinez, like Gene Matsumoto, like Kyler Phillips. So I'm picking Raul Rosas to win this fight by decision, but I believe that the value is on the Font money line at plus 190. Font needs to limit the grappling upside of Rosas by pressuring forward at distance striking range, making Rosas work hard for takedowns, and getting back up when he does get taken down without letting Rosas get to a dominant position. Rosas still hasn't proven he can grapple hard for 3 full rounds, and Font can make him pay if he slows down or is unable to keep this fight on the mat for extended stretches. So my favorite bets for this fight are fight doesn't go to decision at plus 140 because I think Rosas has submission upside and Rob Font obviously has knockout upside. I like the Font money line at plus 190 because we still haven't seen Raul get takedowns in all 3 rounds of a fight on his way to a decision. And if he's unable to get this fight to the ground consistently and spend extended stretches there, his striking deficiency is going to be exploited by a veteran like Rob Font. And Rob Font's inside the distance prop is plus 550. I don't mind that. And Raul Rosas decision at plus 135, I think is a pretty good look too at plus money because the guy is very good at winning minutes with his wrestling. And Rob Font has historically given up a lot of time. 24% control time against. He's been controlled for 63 minutes of his total octagon time. And he's only winning 25% of the control time positions in his fights, while Raul Rosas wins 74%. So I think Rosas is probably going to get takedowns in 2 out of these 3 rounds, win those rounds with top control and submission attempts, and then maybe get pieced up a little bit at distance striking range in the other one. But I think he's going to survive to make this a decision win for Raul Rosas. So we're going to go with El Mariachi Loco, Raul Rosas to win this fight by decision. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Can't trust the Ritter. Oh my God, Gail Kreis in the room for the Miami Fund with the $5 donation. Appreciate it. And Sam saying we got to hit the Hard Rock next time you're in town, Unc. You're not too far a drive. Yeah, man, we'll do that for sure, man, when I come down there. You live in Florida now, Uncle? Not yet, no. Maybe one of these days, but still in Chicago. We got Tehran saying that he's picking Font. And yeah, I forgot to say a ring-a-ding-ding here for the Miami Fund. My guy Kreese here taking care of business. And my guy Clint is in the room saying, "Oi, Weezy, what's up, Clint? I hope all is well, my man. Make sure you download the fight write-ups and the stats package for free in the description of the video, Clint. Giving it all the way for free this week. Hoping that a lot of people sign up next week. Red Pill saying, I'm thinking about moving to Florida. Only place I can afford a house. Yeah, it's and at least the property taxes aren't nuts down there. Rob Font can drag this one out. You know how the New England cartels are. He's not at the cartel anymore. He's over at TriStar. I would have had Font in the first booking. Now that there's more tape and training time, it has to be in Rosas' favor. The over is super juiced. What's the over at? I know the fight doesn't go as plus 140. Someone in the chat tell me who's the worst fighter on the card is. Over 2.5 is minus 260. Probably Cody Brundage or Bellato, says Sam. All right. And Fromage Frog in there saying, "Oi, God bless you, Uncle." There we go. All right, let's move on to the next fight here, as it's going to be the co-main event of the evening. Caio Bahayo going up against Reinier de Ritter. Bahayo minus 250. Reinier de Ritter plus 210. And the fight doesn't go to decision for this fight. Is sitting at about plus 135, which my model likes quite a bit, actually. So let me get... I'm on the wrong one. This is the one. So, this fight, very interesting fight in the middleweight division here. Resize to 27. And Caio Bahayo, about 2 years younger, but Reinier de Ritter will be a little bit taller with a 4-inch reach advantage. It's a southpaw versus southpaw matchup. It's going to be Caio with more UFC experience, but on the aggregate, Rainier de Ridder has been fighting the better brand of competition at the UFC level. Rainier de Ridder, a dominant grappler. Caio Borralho, a very well-rounded fighter with 4 wins by submission, 5 wins by knockout, 8 wins by decision, and Caio's 8-2 to the decision as a professional. So the guy's a very talented minute winner, as is Rainier de Ridder, who's 3-0 to the decision as a pro. So I got the strength of schedule advantage here going to Rainier de Ridder. He's ranked 3rd out of 80, while Caio Borralho is ranked 25th out of 80. When it comes to ROI, 88% ROI for Rainier de Ridder, 26% ROI for Borralho. But as a favorite, Borralho has gone 6-1, so he's performed well. But the market loves him, and they make him expensive. So the ROI is only 16%. While when in the 2 fights that Rainier de Ridder's been priced as an underdog in, he cashed in both of them and has put up a 217% return on investment over those fights. Both guys are coming off a loss in their last fight. Borralho in September, Rainier de Ridder in October, and before that, they were both on winning streaks that were extended. So, interesting one here. In terms of the stats, let me get this up here on the screen for you guys. For me, I think that the moment winning upside is more on the Rainier de Ridder side. I think he's probably more likely to get takedowns and win the minutes of the grappling. I think that his pressure forward, awkward style is going to be difficult for Borralho to deal with. But Borralho, because of that pressure, because of that terrible distance striking defense of Rainier de Ridder, I think he's going to be able to find success with his striking and land some big shots on the feet. But Rainier de Ridder, I think, is just as likely of landing big shots on the feet as Borralho is. So let me read my summary for this fight. And both Caio and Rainier are trying to get back on track after losses in their last fight. Both of these guys are elite grapplers who are top 10 middleweights, so this is a hell of a co-main event. Caio is 2 years younger than Rainier, and he's always had excellent fight IQ that allows him to use his well-rounded skill set and solid decision-making to win minutes and bank rounds. Caio showed that he can win minutes and bank rounds against quality strikers like Cannonier, Oleg Sachek, Armen Petrosian, Mahmoud Muradov. And he's always had the ability to get takedowns in top time because of his solid wrestling and his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt that he earned from Damian Maia. Now, Rainier de Ridder is a grappler who was a former 2-division champion over in one championship. He's massive for the middleweight division. He fights with constant pressure on the feet. He's nasty in the clinch, and he can get to dominant positions and win minutes and moments on the mat. Rainier's physicality is his biggest asset, and he uses it extremely well in close quarters. I think that these guys are extremely well matched. Caio has the better distance striking, but Rainier's relentless forward pressure should make it difficult for Caio to maintain range and outpoint Rainier. And if Rainier is able to close distance and get into the clinch, I think he can score points with his knees and dirty boxing while finding some success with takedowns in top time. Caio is the much cleaner and more technical fighter in all aspects of MMA, but it's really hard to be clean and technical against a marauder like de Ridder, who fights with relentless pace and pressure and such an awkward striking style. I don't like this matchup for Caio. Rainier is going to make him work, and the difference in size and physicality seriously favors Rainier. This line feels way off to me, so I'll be playing Rainier's money line at plus 200 or better. Rainier decision at plus 410, that's an interesting look. And Borralho decision at plus 125, in my opinion, is the best way to play his line. I'm going to pick Rainier de Ridder to win this fight, and I'm going to pick him to win it by decision. All right, so Rainier de Ridder by decision is the pick for this fight. I'm looking for the upset here. I think that this is a great fight, and I think it's a great test for Rainier de Ridder, and I'm expecting de Ridder to come back and show the cardio that he demonstrated in the Nickel fight and in the Whitaker fight. And I just don't like this matchup for Caio because Caio is a pretty fighter, but I don't think he's a brawler. I don't think he wants to get into a phone booth and just chuck bombs. I think this guy's very comfortable in planning things in advance and using that skill set to attack weaknesses. I don't think this guy's going to want a marauder just coming at him, throwing bombs, looking to just, put him on the back foot and make him very uncomfortable. Those step-in knees that DeRitter throws are fucking nasty. So I think that Xiao is going to look really good against most of the division. That isn't going to make him fucking fight. That isn't going to make him scrap. I think Rainier is going to make him scrap. So I'm going with Rainier here, and that's going to be my pick. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. 91 watching and only 56 like. Let's get that number higher, ninjas. Appreciate you. Let's see here. My guy Yitro saying my model thinks the best conservative play is over 1.5 rounds. If you just need something to cash or a parlay piece. Yeah, I agree. I think this one is going to go to decision, but I also think that either guy is live for a finish here. Stylistically, Rainier DeRitter is just not good defensively, and there is a chance that he could fucking fall off a cliff like he did in the Brendan Allen fight. But even if he does, Xiao just has no finish upside. He has no finishing instincts. So I don't know about that one, but Xiao by decision is how I like it, but I think that Rainier might be able to find a finish, and I think Xiao could find a finish too. So my model likes that plus 135 under. It's 42.5%. 58% of middleweight fights do finish inside the distance, and 6 of these guys, 9 UFC fights have finished inside the distance. So it's a trifecta bet on the template, and stylistically, I could see either guy getting a finish. So I feel like this should be closer to even money. What's RDR finish only? He's got to have 80% of the finish upside. And that's why I like the RDR money line, is because like if you're going to give him most of the finish upside in a middleweight fight, I think that that's a good reason to bet on an underdog. And that's hilarious, dude. Like Rainier DeRitter plus 220 finish only. I mean, I guess people think he's going to gas out, but like who does Caio Bahaio finish? Nobody. He finished Oleg Sachek because he out-grappled him. And I think he knocked out Paul Craig. Other than that, like he couldn't even finish a gassed Abus Magomedov, and he had him hurt. Like he had fucking Cannonier on death's door in round 5, and then just let him off the hook. So Caio is just not really somebody that aggressively looks for the finish. He does not like to take chances, and I think that Rainier is going to make him take chances. So wow, yeah, Brandon, that Rainier DeRitter finish only, I think that's a great look this week. Yeah, too many weight cuts too quick in a year, and it's a big weight cut for him for sure. Like I hope he is a lot healthier. I will go against where the money is on this one. Plus 220 for finish only. RDR might walk into a clean counter, though. That's the way I think this finishes. Yeah, I think that's certainly a possibility because Caio is precise and RDR is defensively irresponsible. And Ben saying, I think Vegas gets whatever they need on that last fight. They usually get what they need. All right, you guys, main event of the evening. Max blessed Holloway. Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Max minus 230. Do Bronx plus 195. Fight doesn't go to decision here. Juiced up at about minus 250 for this fight. So let me get my stats up here for you guys. And 27. And let's go here, do the same thing. There we go. So similar ages, but Max is a little bit younger. Max 34, Charles Oliveira 36. Oliveira's been fighting for a longer period of time, up at 155 pounds, while the move up to 155 for Holloway still relatively new at this point in his career. Both of these guys have a ton of experience. Holloway's strength of schedule ranked 3rd out of 93. Oliveira's strength of schedule ranked 5th out of 93. Max Holloway, an elite minute winner at distance striking range. Charles Oliveira, an elite moment winner wherever the fight goes. Both guys are extremely exciting, fun fighters to watch, and these guys are two of the best to ever do it. Charles Oliveira with one of the most ridiculous winning streaks that we've ever seen in the lightweight division. Max Holloway, longtime featherweight champion, 27 fights since the year 2013 at the UFC level with a 20-win and 7-loss record. So legend versus legend. Minute winner versus moment winner. Boxer versus grappler. An absolute banger of a matchup. When we look at head strikes here, Max Holloway's number, some of the most elite in the history of the division, lands 4.7 significant head strikes per minute when the divisional average is only 2.36, and he has a positive 1.67 head strike differential, while for Oliveira, it's negative. The key stat for this fight, you guys, this is what the most important part of this fight is this. Charles Oliveira only spends 36% of his octagon time at distance striking range, while for Max Holloway, it's 86.5%. So this fight's going to come down to which one of these guys can control the phases of the fight. Can Holloway keep this in the center of the cage and use his superior striking skills to win the minutes and bank the rounds? Or can Oliveira maraud forward, constantly pressure, get into the clinch, and start to use his dirty boxing, start to use his trip takedowns, start to use his size and that natural lightweight body that he's had for a long time, to use his size to wear on Max Holloway, to make him grapple, to make him fight a fight that he's not very comfortable fighting, or not nearly as comfortable fighting as he is being at distance striking range using his superior striking. So here's my breakdown for this fight. This is a high-level fight for the BMF belt. It's a rematch of a fight that took place back in 2015 in the featherweight division, and Max Holloway won that fight by first-round knockout. Max and Charles are both on the downsides of their illustrious careers, not because they aren't fighting at a high level anymore, but because the amount of fights and years in the game both these guys have. Max is 4 wins and 1 loss over his last 5. Charles is 3 wins and 2 losses over his last 5, and 2 of those 3 combined losses came against Ilya Topuria, and the only other loss was a split decision loss against Arman Sarukian that some people thought Charles Oliveira won, but it was a close fight. So both Max and Charles are still looking like top 3 lightweights right now. This is pretty clear-cut as far as the stylistics go. Charles needs pressure, clinch work, takedowns, and grappling to look the best version of himself, and Holloway needs space, lateral movement, footwork, and boxing to give himself the best chance to win the minutes and bank the rounds. And whichever fighter controls the phases of this fight will most likely get their hand raised. Max spends 86% of his octagon time at distance striking range, and for Oliveira, it's only 36%. So both guys have had quite a bit of success keeping fights where they do their best work. Charles has always fought with relentless forward pressure. It leaves him open to be countered, and he's been knocked down and finished several times in the UFC. But it's that pressure that forces the clinch exchanges, power shots, and scrambles necessary to create the chaos that Charles thrives in. Max has never been known for one-punch knockout power, but his timing and precision make him very dangerous, and his durability has been able to keep him in fights. Charles has never been the most durable guy, but he recovers quickly when he gets rocked, and his submission grappling prowess makes him a very dangerous man to be on the mat with. Max has the footwork and takedown defense to keep this fight standing, but Oliveira's relentless pressure is going to make it hard to keep this off the fence and in the center of the cage. And once this fight gets into close quarters, I definitely favor Charles's dirty boxing and submission grappling. Max, up at 155 pounds, isn't a serious power threat, but he has scored a couple of knockdowns at this weight class. If he doesn't get Charles's respect early, I think Charles is going to start to pull away with his pressure, clinch work, and grappling. Max historically has been the better minute winner, while Charles is an elite finisher. And this fight is scheduled to finish inside the distance about 2/3 of the time. So I think that kind of favors the Oliveira side. Charles Oliveira's money line is my favorite bet for this fight. I'm going to play his money line around plus 200. And I think the fight doesn't go to decision is a solid parlay piece this week due to the finish upside of both fighters. So my pick is I'm going to attack the weakness of Max Holloway, and that's certainly not his durability. So I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira to win this fight by decision. My favorite bet for this fight is the Charles Oliveira money line. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Let's see. We got Tehran saying Charles will constantly push forward and pressure Holloway. Yes, he will. Deshaun is in the room saying Oliveira is the play. I agree. Topuria's son's fighting for a trinket. Yep. Max will win with that jab. Yeah, if he can keep it at distance striking range, he's going to win the minutes. I would like to make a 4-leg parlay with only fighters who are favored. Someone in the chat, can you help him? Frank saying Max TKO is the bet this week. Gus is saying this is a better interim lightweight bout than Paddy versus Gaethje. Oh, yeah, of course it is. It's a way better. I mean, like, there's no way that Paddy Gaethje should have been it when you got Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira. I just hope Holloway Oliveira isn't boring. I don't see how it possibly could be. Last round. If Max points to the floor, does Brundage clinch up like Poirier or start swinging and banging like Gaethje? He probably swings, dude. I don't think Charles is afraid of anyone. Plus 200 range main event dogs have been money this year, says Brandon. Max over 2.5 is plus 140. I like that. No, I did not. I'm in Chicago, Tehran. And yeah, True Gus says bean eggs. All right, you guys. So we've got 2 orders of business here, and then I'm going to get out of here. So first, we're going to do the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week. Let me see here. And I know who I want it to be. And look, I mean, I backed Oliveira at a pick'em with a 3-unit bet against Garbrandt. I backed him at plus 170 against Beneil Dariush. The market has been consistently underrating Charles Oliveira, and I just don't think they have a really good handle on how this guy fights and how he wins. Max Holloway is clearly the better striker here. He's elite at distance striking range, but when you look at his opponents over the last 7 or so years, he's never fought a grappler. Let's go through. He's never fought a grappler, you guys. Nobody ever pushes grappling. Poirier, no. Topuria did take him down 2 times and actually was able to get him there and control him for, it was only 45 seconds, but he was able to get Holloway down. Justin Gaethje, pure striker. Korean Zombie, pure striker. Arnold Allen, pure striker. Volk, striker. Yair, striker. Cater, striker. Volk, striker. Volk, striker. He fought Frankie Edgar, who wrestles back in 2019, but Frankie Edgar was washed then. Poirier. Ortega here. That's the last time he actually fought a grappler, and that was in December of 2018, you guys. So the forward pressure of Charles Oliveira, along with Max not really proving to us that this part of his game is ready to deal with a constant pressure fighter and high-level submission grappler like Charles Oliveira, who actually has power in his own right on the feet. So the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week this week is going to be the Charles Oliveira money line. I will have money on his money line this week. I will have money on Renier de Ritter's money line at plus 200 this week as well. But Charles Oliveira at dog money is I cannot pass that up. I don't think that this is a stylistic matchup that Max is going to do well with. And I think he's going to yield some really bad positions on the ground. And I think optically, that pressure of Oliveira and the ability to be able to win minutes and moments on the mat is really going to plow him to some minutes and potentially moments while this fight is on the mat. And I don't think Max's cardio is going to excel in a situation where he has to grapple a lot. So that is going to be my dog pick of the week. which leaves us with one order of business left. What the fuck? All right. And that's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Who's going to win this week and win violently? Oliveira, I have winning by decision. Ritter, I have winning by decision. Rosas by decision. Johnson by decision. Rodrigues by decision. Jeong-Yeong by decision. Donte Johnson inside the distance. Montes by submission. Tumendemberel by KO. Mudaerji by decision. Tobias by KO. Lee by submission. And Fernandez by decision. I mean, I think there's some decent spots this week. For instance, Rafael Tobias is not somebody I have a lot of faith in right now, but Diyar Nurgozhay is like a one strike at a time guy that has shown a serious deficiency in his takedown defense and grappling defense. And I'm not even sure he's the better striker in this matchup. So I think Tobias is not only a good shot this week to win, but to win with a finish. Tumendemberel, I think that this fight could go either way, right? I think if Cody wins minutes here, he can bank a decision with his wrestling. And I think Tumendemberel is a great moment winner that can find, to capitalize on mistakes. So I do think he's a good option this week. Montes is submission or bust, so I don't want to pick him. Donte Johnson is minus 650, so I don't want to pick him. And I'm just not seeing a lot of one-sided fights up here. So, I mean, I think I'm going to have to go with Rafael Tobias. I think I'm going to have to back a debutante here, a 22-year-old one at that, because I also think Fernandez could shave some ass, but something tells me that this guy's going to be in the clinch a lot. And he might win minutes, but not do it decisively. So, and Jeong-Yeong Lee, I mean, he's a guy that's just completely underperformed. So I'm going to fade Nurgozhay, and from what I've seen from him on tape, he's nothing special. And I'm going to kind of go with a risky one here, in my opinion. And I'm going to go with Rafael Bipolar Tobias to shave the ass of Diyar Nurgozhay. There we go. All right. So you guys, here's what we're doing. I'm giving it all the way for free this week. If you look in the link or the description of this video, you're going to find a link to my fight write-ups. Download them for free this week. You're going to find a link to my stats package. Download it for free this week. This is Balls Deep Breakdowns. I do this show every week for my Odds Shopper subscribers. If you want to be part of that Odds Shopper team, if you want breakdowns like this every single week, if you want to have access to my stats, to my fight write-ups, to my Discord, to my track bets, and to this 4 hours of subscriber-only content that I produce every week, going deep into the stats, into the tape, into all the stylistic components of every fight on every card, join me. $12.50 for your first month's membership. It's going to pay for itself with the amount of information that you get access to, and you'll be supporting my work, a hardworking YouTube content creator who doesn't make much out here in these streets, because us content creators honestly don't get paid shit. So, people like me don't really make any money unless people go and support my product on Odds Shopper. So I want to encourage people to do that this week by giving it all away so that you see what you would have access to if you were to sign up. So if you have any love for your Uncle Weezy, if you want to support my work and you want to reward me for working so hard on putting together these stats packages for everybody this week, click that link in the description of this video and support it. $12.50 for your first month's membership, and download everything for free. I'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to go through my betting models for all of these fights. We're going to match up the underpriced bets with our stylistic reads on the fights to find the best plus EV props of the week. So join me tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, for Propability. I will see you guys tomorrow. Let's stack cashed tickets like flapjacks for UFC 326. Have a great rest of your night, everybody, and God bless.